As a kid, I grew up in an Argentinian household, and my father would sometimes say to me, "Acá viene, o acá está el cirujano." Now, translated, it means, "Here comes the surgeon." And it wasn't so much that he saw a great future for me in medicine. It was more that whenever we would have dinner, and if it was a meal that consisted of a lot of fat in my meat, I would be just like a surgeon, cutting this thing up and removing that fat. Now, my father would always say, the best flavor, or the flavor, is all in the fat. You eat it all together. But as a kid, I'm like, I think the bottom line is my senses, or I guess my palate, hadn't quite evolved to the point where I could enjoy that as a combination. It was only years, and I'm talking years later, that I realized that, hey man, I think my taste bud had evolved. A meal with the combination of the meats together, it's just divine. But what has that got to do with perfumes? So before I go any further, I'd love to invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Join the Niche Fragrance Collector family. Be part of this conversation that we're having about fragrances, in particular niche fragrances from around the world. Now, back to my story. So when I first got into niche fragrances, probably about 3 years ago, I was like a man obsessed. I wanted to smell everything. I fell in love with the concept that you can have a product that is unique, in some cases low production, in most cases, or just about all cases, they're using locally sourced products, or ingredients I should say. And I just fell in love with that concept, the romance of it, the artistry of it, I mean, I've always been a big fan of anything artisanal. So in that discovery, I came across the AMOUAGE brand, and I knew that it was deemed as probably one of the best in the niche sort of world. And I had a hard time. My senses weren't ready for it. I remember speaking to the salesperson, and I said, "Give me your best seller in this. I want to smell what that, what that is, sorry." And he gave me Interlude Man, and I remember smelling it. I'm like, I don't get it. Okay, give me another one. Maybe my senses aren't quite ready for that one there. So I smelled Bracken Man, and I'm like, what? What is this? Then I smelled Epic Man, and he said, "Oh, if you don't like those, it's fine. Epic Man, awesome seller." Smelled Epic Man, and I'm like, I couldn't do it. And I recognized that it wasn't that, it was me. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Am I broken? Why can I not appreciate? And I had one guy, I remember I did a masterclass very early on, and I was talking to another, this is before I realized that niche fragrance is a little bit on the obsessive side. Anyway, so I spoke to one guy there, and he says, I've got all the AMOUAGE. I'm like, my gosh, I don't know, there must be at least 30 to 40 plus fragrances, and he had all of them. He goes, I love it, because if I had to choose, AMOUAGE House would be my favorite. And I'm like, so what is wrong with me? Why can I not appreciate something that is deemed as beautiful and unique in the field? Anyway, so I left it alone. I recognized that I probably wasn't ready. That's what I thought to myself. I'm not ready for this. So fast forward 2 years later, so at the start of last year, I decided to revisit AMOUAGE, and something changed. I smelled all the ones I just mentioned before. Interlude Man, I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. That's complex and unique, and there's nothing, I haven't smelled anything like this. Epic Man, forget about it. I mean, it's like you're like an ultimate hero. You walk in and you possess and own that room. Bracken Man, sexy fragrance. It's just gorgeous. My my nose had now caught up with me, and I could now understand or feel these different notes that were in there. So let's talk about this particular fragrance here, which is MEANDER. And when I first smelt it, it had me perplexed, and I'll tell you why. So it starts off a little bit spicy. You got some pepper, some pink peppers in there. But already you're getting one of the key ingredients in this particular fragrance, which is the locally sourced frankincense, which is harvested in an area called Dhofar in Oman. Now, there's a smell in here, in that top note, that, as I said, had me a little bit, like, I'm like, what is that? It smells earthy. It smells a bit petrichor, so just when the earth, as it gets that rain, that early sort of scent of earth and water. And I found out that it's actually carrot seed. Now, when you say carrot seed, you can now begin to feel that or smell that, the earthiness of that actual carrot seed there. And it was purposely designed to do just that. It wanted to, so the idea of the fragrance was to bring you into the land or the area where they actually source the frankincense they take for this particular fragrance. In the heart, it then goes into a softer place with the rose and also the iris root. And the iris root does create a creaminess to the actual fragrance. Finally, in the base, it brings back that beautiful locally sourced oil, comes through at the start, but then as it dries down, you're getting I guess that key ingredient from Oman coming back. There's a sense of calm to us. There's a sense of peace with this fragrance. It's not in your face, so it doesn't really sort of come out at you. I know that some of the other AMOUAGE really, like Jubilation Man, I love Jubilation Man, but that really is like, boom, boom, you know, it's like you've got a whole trumpeting section, you know, commanding your entrance. Whereas this one here, it becomes this beautiful fragrance. It's not a body scent, so I'm not saying that at all. It does have some level of projection, but there's a warmth to it. I think that's the best way to explain it. There's a warmth and there's an invitation. The fragrance actually invites you as you enjoy the scent, but also those around you, you know, to participate. Now, I'm going to start this a little bit differently. Normally, I say how much do I love it and then how much my wife loves it. In this case, my wife loves this fragrance. Now, here's the irony. She does not like any sort of scent or fragrance that is incense-like. So anything with myrrh or frankincense, but yet she loves this fragrance on 2 occasions. So one, when I was testing it, so early on, I wanted to see how the fragrance sort of worked, and I was wearing it on myself, and I sprayed it, and her response very quickly was, wow, what did you just spray? That's actually quite nice. Then I went out and I actually bought it, and I wore it one morning. I got a text from my wife later in the day, and she said, whatever you sprayed this morning is beautiful. I can smell it around the house. Do I love it? Absolutely. This is, and again, I've got a fairly nice collection of fragrances, but this one here is different, and it's completely different to the others that I currently have. It's definitely a warmer fragrance. It's not something I would wear on a hot day. It's awesome for now, for us here in Australia. We're coming into autumn and winter. Brilliant as an autumn-winter fragrance. The longevity on it, again, it's AMOUAGE, beautiful oils. It has an awesome longevity. So I'm looking at 9 hours plus, easily, comfortably 9 hours plus. So as I mentioned, the sillage on this is moderate. So it's definitely not a body scent. It does project. Those people around you will be able to pick up the scent. It isn't, I think, a brilliant office scent. It will create a little bit of mystery around you, but not to the point where people go, oh my gosh, here comes such and such. It's definitely unisex. Male, female can comfortably wear this. The pricing on this guy here is an AMOUAGE, so it's going to cost you a little bit. It's $459 for Aussie. Now listen to that sound. That's your American pricing. We've had a few comments saying we'd love to know these prices in US, so we're going to be doing that from now on. So that's it, AMOUAGE. I've got my big boy pants on, and I've been able to graduate to the School of AMOUAGE Appreciation. I want to say that all those fragrances that I mentioned earlier, Interlude, Bracken, Epic, Jubilation, they are superb, beautiful fragrances, unique, something completely different. And I just cannot believe I didn't understand it when I first got into it. But again, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, join the Niche Fragrance Collector family, and become part of this conversation on some awesome, awesome fragrances from around the world.